Hey, how's it going, fellow dividend investors? Dennis Truffin here with another dividend portfolio update for you. Today's episode is sponsored by Track Your Dividends. We're going to be talking about them here in just a little bit. But first, we're going to be going over my portfolio, seeing how we're doing, as well as, looking at the opportunities to get over $1,000 every single month in dividend income, which is our main goal. Now, we have little ones in between that, but of course, that is the big one. So if you're trying to get to those type of goals, or you want to achieve something similar, make sure you're sticking around because we're going to be breaking this all down. Now, you can see here on the actual portfolio, which is on my M1 Finance account, this is where I house all my dividend focus. And if you're curious about using the same software, I will have a link to them in the show notes down below. It does help out support the channel if you utilize that link. But currently right now, my M1 Finance account is sitting at $17,256. So that is pretty awesome. You can see here in my all-time, I'm up on total of $2,776. That is money-weighted returns. And then for those curious, when it comes to unrealized gains right over here, it's at $2,190, which is about 14.5% increase. So doing pretty good. If we actually break this down to the last day has been pretty nice as of this recording. We're at 305 in gains. The last week we're about almost 300, and then the last month almost $900. So it is going pretty well so far with this portfolio, because not only am I focused on those dividends, trying to build it up, but I'm also focusing in on some growth opportunities because I do want to get some of that capital available for me as well. So for me, I'm looking on both ends and seeing all the opportunities that lie in front of me, because of course I want to just try to get the most value out of my money as quickly as possible. And we're going to actually go to trackyourdividends.com to actually show you how I'm keeping track of, how much I'm making annually for dividends, as well as the projections of how I'm going to be able to get to this $1,000 every single month plus. Because, one cool thing about dividends is that if you are compounding them with everything else you're doing, you can actually increase the amount that you're going to get paid out that much more in the following years. And it's pretty crazy to see. I'll show you guys in a calculator here later on. So this is my portfolio. You can see all of my slices here on M1 Finance. I got a couple different, of course, important sectors. And then we do, of course, our weekly buys, like I said. And then we also do a little bit of purchasing here and there as well, depending on certain stocks that might be down. Like right now, I have a trade going in for DLR for $30, because out of all the stocks doing really well today, this is the stock that actually took a pretty big dive just in the last little while. So if we actually look just for the day, they're down about 5% based off of my portfolio. And right now I just see the opportunity because they are priced at $132. My average share price is $142. So doing it this way, I'm actually going to be dollar cost averaging, or what a lot of people like to say is DCA, which means that every time I buy more into the company right now, because the price point is lower, I'm going to go ahead and actually get the price average down, which is really good. That just means that I get that value if the stock actually goes back up, which is, of course, what I hope for. And because I believe in this company long-term based off of their books and my investing strategy, that is my goal. So I see the opportunity to put extra $30 in this week, because that money is going to go for a lot further. That money is going to go a lot further for me because of the fact that it's down right now, but I see it still going up in the future. Now, one thing I want to do is really show you guys, of course, our dividends. So if I go to my activities feed here, we're going to break down just our dividends. Now, I haven't gotten all my dividends for November yet, so I'm not doing the full total that I've earned in November just yet. That will be coming out in the near future, which, by the way, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, so you can get notifications about those videos coming out, and we'll be talking about those dividends coming forth. Now, these are dividends. I just broke it down to just this stuff to me is my favorite. Like, I just love seeing dividends coming in. I love getting paid from dividends. It gets me really encouraged to keep on investing, and I believe for a lot of other people, it is a great encouragement for them as well. But keeping track of all the dividends can be a little tough. So the best thing you can do is make sure you're following along on your journey and what your goals are, right? If your big goal is to get to $10 a month in dividends, or $25 or $100 or even that $1,000, one great way to do so is with tracking your dividends. So I'm actually here on trackyourdividends.com, which is the company that is actually sponsoring this video here today, which is awesome because that allows me to keep on making these videos for you guys. But what we're going to do is actually break down how their website is utilized, which if you are curious to check them out, they do have, pretty much the best way to get started with dividend tracking for free. And they do have some really cool features if you do want to pay for additional services. So I will have their link in the show notes down below. Make sure you check them out. Again, that does help support out the channel, but we're going to break down what this actually does for you. So we're going to go to the main dashboard here. And you're going to see this is pretty much my up-to-date. I think I had to do a little bit of an update here, and I'll show you guys in real time how this works out. So this is my portfolio right over here. You can see its total value is pretty close to where it is currently. Like I said, we're going to do a few updates here because I bought some stocks the other day. It shows me what my dividend yield is right over here. My yield on cost, which is what I love. A lot of places don't do this, and the yield on cost to me is very important. So depending on when you buy a stock, sometimes the stock might be worth, let's say 2% yield. But then if over time the dividend increases and you, let's say, haven't bought anything more into it, well, all of a sudden your yield is actually going to go up because the company is raising that dividend. So this to me is huge. This is letting me know that even though I bought my stocks with an average of 1.91% dividend, because of all the increases, I'm getting 2.19% yield. That is fantastic. And then of course you can see here, I'm going to clean that up, the annual dividends that I'm going to be projected to get as long as I keep everything as it is as of right now. So it is projected, for the annual dividend income from right now is $328. Obviously, if you break that down, every single month, that's not even close to our goal of $1,000, but I'm going to show you later here with the dividend calculator how we can project that. But I want to show you guys a little bit more about this website because this is honestly really, really cool. So first and foremost, of course, we have our portfolio. So what we can do is I currently have my M1 Finance portfolio here, but I can also add additional portfolios. So if you have like Robinhood, Vanguard, or different websites that you use for brokerages, for your portfolios, you can go ahead and add multiple ones. So you can add, like my Vanguard retirement. You can manually enter in all your stocks, which is cool if you wanted to do that, but you can also do an automatic bank feed. So you can just connect it manually or connect it automatically to be able to have everything come in as you keep updating all your portfolios. Now, if you do the free version, you do get one entirely for free, but if you want to do multiples, you do need to have the paid version, which they do either monthly or annual payments, which is really nice. So that way, depending on your style, you can go with one or the other. So what we're going to do is jump over here to my actual portfolio for M1 Finance, and then you can see all of my stocks. So I'm going to actually drop this to, or jump it up to 50 here. So you're going to see here, all of these are my stocks that I currently have with the platform. So it's going to show me a couple pieces of information. It tells me, of course, the ticker, the amount of shares, the price, all of this different stuff. And again, my favorite thing is, the dividend yield currently, and then my yield on cost based off of the rise that the company has done, the amount that I'm actually getting in the annual income, and then also a really good thing to note as well is the dividend safety score. So the dividend safety score is just the probability of it, making sure that they're going to keep on paying their dividend. The closer to 100 you can get, the safer that the dividend gets. The lower, of course, the more risk it is to actually get. And then, of course, if it has NA, it just does not pay out a dividend, at least not as of yet. So that is a really cool thing. You can go ahead and, like, what we're going to do here today is actually edit this a little bit, because let me actually go back here. What am I trying to do here? Oh. Let me reset this here. So I did a buy here on the 24th for 3 different stocks. So I did Apple, DLR, and then Next Era Energy. So these 3 different stocks actually have now technically a different number here. So you can see here, this is 14,913. So 14,913, I got to edit this right here. So 14.913. So this stock, I actually didn't, this portfolio, I didn't have it as the automatic bank feeder. So I can just show you guys what it's like to go ahead and edit everything individually. Obviously, if you have the automatic, it'll just pull everything automatically for you and make things a lot easier for you. So 101.99 is that piece right there. So you click on edit here. And then in real time, it'll show you all the different edits right in that position. Let me just add these last 2, and then we'll move on to the next step here. So Next Era is 8.412. Next Era, 8.412. Let's go here, 8.412. And then the price point on this one was $74.97. Oh, so same price point. And then the last one was DLR. Where are you, DLR? All right, so 2.68097. 2.68907. Let's go to 2 point. I've forgotten already. Hold on. 2.6680. And then what is the 142.25? 142.25. All right, so we clicked on all that. So that edits all of that information. Again, if you do the automatic feeder, which is fantastic, it will just update everything automatically there for you. So now this is a little bit closer to our portfolio value, as well as making sure if anything did have an increase in dividends, that would showcase. But obviously, these companies just from the last day hadn't had any of that kind of information plugged in. So other cool features about this as well, if you go to the diversification tab over here, you could do all your portfolios if you have multiple, or you can click onto individual portfolios. Like when I add my Vanguard here, I will actually have everything plugged in manually or automatically, so it'll be another one in there. So this actually will help me show how much I'm diversified in my portfolio. I obviously have 28 stocks, which I know that is to be true, in 10 different sectors. You can see the highest percentage sector and then the lowest percentage sector right over here. And then they have this nice chart graph, pie chart, right over here, which if you're an M1 finance user, this will look, relatively similar to M1 in general. But right over here, you can see just all the percentages from all the different sectors I have and, how much they actually take up. So you can also click on your stock diversification and you can see all of these and which companies have like the most value in your portfolio versus others, which can help you out as well, right? Because you can actually get an idea of like, okay, is Microsoft too big in my portfolio, or is Tesla not enough in my portfolio? And then you can make those assumptions and determinations. As you can see here, not one company is technically over 10%, which is what I kind of like. I want it to be very diversified in my portfolio. So this helps me get an idea that I am on par with where I want to be. And then, of course, if you are a dividend fan, you love knowing about upcoming dividends. So this right over here will actually keep up to date with, what dividends are to come. So once we have this page loaded up right over here, just in one sec, this is going to show us right over here, projected. Of course, this is not including any dividend increases, and this is not including doing any additional purchases on stocks. But again, when you do those automatic purchases and everything is fed up to date, this will just change automatically for you. So you don't have to do any manual changes here, but you can see here, like this is December right over here that I kind of highlighted. So it looks like for December, we're projected to get about $36.99. Obviously, maybe some companies might have their ex-dividend date still sometime in November or December and pay out in December. So that might actually change a little bit. But just giving an idea of like pretty much $37. And then we can see January is going to be a little bit lower, which it typically is at $13.42. And then February is $32.59, and then back up to $36.77 for March. So you can just kind of see how that chart works. And then down here, it actually show you, the status of all the dividends and what they're projected to be based off of how many shares I have. And again, this can just change with time based off of what you're purchasing as well. Now, the future values here is pretty cool too. So with this one, as we load this up, this is a really cool page for me personally. We talk about this all the time here on this channel, which is the dividend growth rate. Right? The dividend increases are really important to making sure that if you want to have a solid amount of dividends every single month in the future, you want to make sure that the companies that are paying out dividends now are constantly increasing them as well too. So in this one right over here, this is my favorite little side to look at first and foremost is the 5-year dividend growth rate. So for the companies that are paying growth rates, this website here is actually showing us how much on average. So it's 13.43% dividend growth rate across the board with the companies that pay out those rates. Of course, we see the dividend yield, which we already knew about. And then right over here, you can see here that the starting annual payout for 2020 was $329.39, and then the ending annual payment in 2029 would be $635. Now, that is based off of the idea that I haven't done anything extra. They do have the dividend calculator, which again, we are going to break into here just a little bit, going into, doing additional purchases and everything else. This is effectively not doing anything extra, and you seeing those changes. And then you can click in the 5 years, the 10 years, And you can see all of these different activities happen in real time. So that way, again, if you did nothing else today, this is where your portfolio would be, in 30, or is that 13 years, 14 years, right over there, 15 years actually, sorry, 15 years, you can see how your portfolio would change. Obviously, for most investors, you're most likely going to be keeping on with your investments. So no worries there, because we're going to click on this dividend calculator here in just a little bit. You can go to the portfolio alerts, which is really cool. So I have this checked off. So when a company declares their dividend, I'll get a notification. You can also update it to when they pay out their dividends as well. Obviously, you can choose which one you would want to have. We can go to the stock analysis. So here, this is pretty cool too. You can get a breakdown of different stocks if you're interested in checking them out. As an example, we have NEE right over here. So I'm going to click on them, and we're going to see kind of a little bit more information about them. We can see their current price. We can see their forward dividend yield, their annual payout, and their payout ratio. Payout ratios, of course, if you follow along, are pretty important here. Oops, that was a terrible square. We're going to look at this right over here, making sure that it's, under 60%, because, or actually 60 to 70%, because we want to make sure these companies can continue to pay out these dividends. And then what we're going to do, just making sure it is still on screen here for us, you're going to see a lot of different things like the price to earnings ratio analysis right over here. You could do the earnings per share. Of course, we want to see that kind of trending upwards there. You could see the book analysis right over here, so like their current book value. Which is really helpful for a lot of people who are trying to figure out how to analyze stocks. You can see, what their book value is and what their stock price is, and get an assumption of like, okay, are they overvalued? Are they undervalued? And those determinations are based off of, your investing styles as well too. You can look at their dividend history, so you can see all the stuff, which of course, favorite page of all of them. So you can see all that. The dividend safety score, we talked a little bit about this earlier. So this allows you to kind of see these things, and then kind of like, the breakdowns of, why it's a good rating or, a low rating at that point, but this is a good rating. And then you can see the stock's popularity, which is really cool. You can see overall, and then it's in its particular sector as well too, which if you're curious about the overall rankings, you can actually go into the stock popularity. And this part is technically part of the paid version. So if you have the paid version, you'll be able to see this updated in real time every single week. You'll be able to see, what's currently ranked number one, and all their information as well across the board over here. So you can see based off of the actual users on the platform, what their actual percentage for their portfolio allocation. You can see the price, you can see the dividend yield, and then of course the safety score too. So this might help you get some ideas of like, hey, what are other people focused on? What's important? And then like dive deeper in, right? You don't want to just look at somebody or the stock popularity and be like, well, I'm going to get all top 10 because that's what everybody else has. Well, everybody might have different investing preferences and styles, so just keep that in mind when going through this process, because I think it's really important to understand that you're kind of wanting to be your own investor and you have your own style, because everybody's going to be a little bit different. Now, one other thing too, let me just make sure here, we're going through this all the way through and have everything on here. So again, so this part right here, the stock popularity and the stock analysis, those are actually both part of the premium. So if you want to sign up, like I said, I'll have a link down below that does help out support out the channel. And then this probably is one of my favorite parts here, is the dividend reinvestment calculator. We saw earlier when it showed like if you did nothing else to your portfolio, like where it would be. But this is obviously a little bit more important. This is going to show us like where we're going to be if we keep on investing, which is obviously what we want to do. So we are sitting at, what was it for a total on our portfolio? So 7,250 is what we're currently sitting at. So let's go ahead and say right now we're averaging about $800 a month in contributions. And then our dividend yield right now, what was our dividend yield? It was 2.15%, I believe it was. And then you saw earlier that our dividend growth on average right now in the last 5 years has been about 13%. Now I'm going to be a little conservative just in case, stocks stop paying dividends, they cut their dividends or whatever the case may be. So we're going to go with maybe like a 10% dividend growth rate. And then you can look at the annual share price growth. So you can see, hey, how much are you growing? If I go back to my M1 Finance, I can actually go to my pies, and then I can go to my dividend here, and I can see over the last 5 years I've gained 179 percent if I were to have invested 5 years ago. Obviously, that's not what I did, but that would have been nice. So if we take that 179 divided by that 5, so that's 35% a year. Obviously, that's much higher than averages, which is like 10, 12%. I'm going to put it at 12% to be very conservative in this area. And then we're going to be investing for 20 years. So let's see how this works out. So if we kind of break this down, this is the really cool part. We could see our total dividends for the year, 371. The next year, if we keep going, we're almost doubling our actual dividend payouts. And then you could see here, same thing with the year 3, we are almost doubling there. So if we keep kind of scrolling down here, we've talked about this before, but around year 8, 9, or 10, somewhere around this area, we're going to most likely hit over the 12,000 annual dividends, which equates to about, on average, $1,000 every single month. That's not even taking into account the principal that's going to be in the portfolio. So in about 10 years, we're looking at about $250,000 in this account. But here's the kicker. Like this is where it gets really, really interesting for us. So if you just keep on investing those dividends, keep on investing the $800 a month and kind of like stay the course essentially, check this out. In 20 years, this is how much I'm going to get paid out in dividends if I stay the course. And this is being conservative with the numbers as far as percentages, just to be safe on those ends. We're looking at $242,788 in dividends. So if we do the math on that, divided by 12, that's $20,232 every single month in dividends. Now, obviously, I don't know if that's going to be the exact case, depending on how, the stocks change, because we are investing into individual companies. We have to be vigilant in, paying attention to any downward trends for certain companies and maybe move out of them if that's the case and find new companies to invest in. But nonetheless, if everything kind of just stays the way it is, that's what we're projected to have in 20 years. Obviously, I don't know if that's going to be the case where we're going to keep on investing after that, or if we're going to pull that money and start using it for different things that we want in our lives. But the cool thing is, at that point, with $20,000, you get to choose what you want to do in your life with that money. And that's not even including the principal of the money that we have. So the actual value of the stocks total would come out to about $2 million. Now, the cool thing is this is just calculating my M1 Finance dividend account, which is this one right over here. This is not even taking into account the retirement account that we have and then maybe some other types of investments we want to do in the future. But what I'm really wanting to show people, because I started off this portfolio right over here, January 23rd for $100. Like that's what I deposited into the account. I'm going to actually show you here too. Go to activities here. So you can see here, deposit on January 23rd, $100. That's what I deposited into this portfolio. I bought 3 different things. I bought Vanguard S&P 500. I bought $5 into Tesla and $5 into Microsoft. And the reason I want to show that is because a lot of people fear that you have to be putting in thousands of dollars to make it efficient. But when you just get started into your portfolio and you slowly kind of just work your way through the process of investing, small dollar amounts every single week, whatever the case may be, that will have a huge impact for you down the road. And you don't have to sit there and be putting in $10,000 every single month. If you could, that would be great. But if you're not at that position yet, because maybe you don't know the market yet, or you don't have that type of income yet, get started small. Right? Put $5 a week, $10 a week, whatever you can, because then you are starting to build up this whole idea of how everything works, how you prefer your stocks. Because if we look at my portfolio, let me go to my holdings here. All of these stocks that I have right over here, these were not all the stocks I began with. And these are some of the stocks that, obviously made the ranks over the last couple of months, because I sold companies that I decided I didn't want to be part of anymore. Maybe I just didn't like their books anymore. Maybe the direction the company was going. This portfolio has been pretty solid just in the last maybe a couple of months. But yeah, there was a time where I was buying and selling different stocks until I found what worked great for me. But it wouldn't have happened if I didn't start with that $100. I'm really adamant about people just getting started. Like I said, I'll have a link down below. Click on that, put $100 in, which is the minimum to open up the account. And then it's just whatever you can every single week until you can actually put in a good amount to have huge impacts. Because, $5 today can equal out a lot more money down the road when the market is going up. Obviously, if the market goes down, keep on investing in, because that way you keep on getting more value as the market is moving up and down, because historically the market has gone up, right? I mean, if you look at this chart over here, you can see right over here, like the market dips. That's kind of far. Let me actually zoom in a little bit more here. So you can see like right over here at the end of October, like we had a nice little dip in the market. That's going to happen. We had a dip right here and a little bit in September, a little bit at the beginning of September as well. But like that's going to always happen. Like market's going to go up and down. But if you invest and stay long term, like you're going to see huge impacts. Like you're going to see right over here, like right here, $329 that I'm going to make in dividend income. We gained over $2,000 in just growth, obviously unrealized there right now, but that's great. And that's just the unrealized. If we count the realized gains, which are dividends and profits sold, we're over $2,700. And that's a lot to do with the fact that, yeah, I'm okay with that. The fact that I had to put in just $5 or $10 or $20 every single week to make it happen, because yeah, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere if you don't get started, right? And a lot of times people are like, well, I'll wait and I'll hold off. But I mean, holding off now will, hurt you long term, because the idea of like we showed here, I got to replug and everything. But, you saw there, like if I keep on investing right now, like, 10, 20 years, I'm going to have a lot more money in dividends because I'll actually stay the course. Now, like I said, this is up to every single person and how they want to like be investing. But, keeping track of your dividends is huge because that'll help you get excited. Obviously, this right over here is showing you how much you are going to be earning, what your yields are based off of the information that they have. But I also have a dividend tracker as well too. This is something I actually designed myself. Let me make sure everything's on screen here for us. It's looking good here. So this is everything that I put together. So this is entirely for free for anybody that wants it. Again, link in the show notes down below. So you got a couple different links to check out as well. This one is free. And what this will do is it'll bring you this graph here. Make sure you make a copy of it so you can fill in your information and just put in how much you were making in dividends. Like, look at this. Look at this right over here. So my very first dividend was in March of 2019. So if you can see this right over here, this was 2 cents. I know you got to like zoom in a little bit there, but we got 2 cents in dividends for March of 2019. And you can see a year later, we were making $4.89 because we were staying the course. Most of 2019, I was putting anywhere from, I think, $10 a week up to $40 a week max. And then once 2020 started, I was definitely upping it up, getting closer to 100, and now we're going upwards of 200, 250 a week. But again, that was with time. I was, having the training wheels on, getting ready, and then once I felt more comfortable, I started investing more. If you look in 2019 altogether, I made a total of $8.52 in dividends, and we are on course to make well over $150 in the year of 2020. So that's a huge increase because again, we are staying the course, going through this process and making sure things are working out across the board and increasing the dividends. Because I don't know about you, but getting those monthly dividends are fantastic. Getting paid out just feels good. And I'm excited to, see which companies are paying out more every single month, every single year, because we're going to keep on having that. So if you want to track your dividends, again, I'll have a link to trackyourdividends.com in the show notes down below. That does help me out. There is the free version for you. You can try out the pro version for a little bit. And if you like it, you can continue using it. I believe it's $5.99 a month right now just to be able to kind of get started and see how it's going. And then if you really love it and you are like somebody like me that likes to pay attention to every little detail, see the yields on cost, to see, the stock analysis, to get the update feeds, that you can actually pay for the year and save even more. So that way you don't have to think about it. And then everything just kind of goes the course. Now, obviously, I want you to keep on learning and growing with dividends. So I want you to check out my next video right over here to keep on learning and watching. My name is Dennis Trufan, and I will see you guys in the next video.